Hello, our Axis and allies loves. It's 1914 World War I, Wars of the World, straight from the nest. NATO's going to take it away.
Hello everybody, this is Nato at the Nest with the fall of the 1916 turn of World War I, and it was quite the turn. Massive casualties on all sides. So it opened up, remember last video I said Romania would be joining the war this turn, and so Austria, to open up the turn, invaded Romania to close off that front so Russia couldn't swing down from the and down to the south and try to outflank Austria. And they managed to reduce Romania down to a single infantry. They weren't quite able to take it outright. And then through using the rail system, because Austria pulled troops from Galicia down to invade Romania, so then from Austria used the rail system to rail troops over to Galicia from Vienna to replace the ones they took south with it, and then just reinforce the Italian front. Germany, in terms of its strategic bombing campaign, did extraordinarily well this turn. Those Zeppelins got 11 damage on the London factory, and then the submarines from the North and South Atlantic convoy lines combined did 9 points of damage. So between the submarines and the Zeppelins, they did 20 points of damage to England. So before England could even start its turn, the German strategic campaign reduced Germany's production this turn down to 3. So, of course, the British have now implemented the convoy system, so next turn they probably won't get such a good result on that. Designated by those markers. You can once again get those by historical board gaming. And then ground-wise, Germany invaded East Poland and managed to take that, and then attacked Lithuania again. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name. Attack Lithuania again, still unable to push the Russians out. But it doesn't really matter, because the strategy for Germany is just to inflict casualties, not necessarily to take territory. Granted, it wants to take as much territory as it can because that adds to its victory points, but it's more important for Germany to just inflict casualties, because remember, if the Central Powers can inflict 35 Russian casualties, then that will force the Bolshevik Revolution. And Russia is sitting at 30. One second. Russia's sitting at 33 right now, so they only need 2 more and it'll force the revolution. Granted, it doesn't force the revolution right away. If the Bolshevik Revolution has been forced, it won't actually happen until its historic start date. So that won't happen until actually fall of 1917. And then that was it for Germany. It just been the battle for Lithuania also saw the first dogfight of the scenario. Neither of the fighters hit each other. So it's, still learning how to shoot down other planes apparently. And then other than that, it just built infantry and artillery to replace losses and projected losses. And then England couldn't do much because they only had $3 to work with, but they implemented the convoy system, and then the miners, the trench mines that I talked about last turn, that opened up. So the British have begun constructing of that. It takes 2 turns, and because of the Hibby kind of silly to inform the Germans of this, even though it's treated as kind of constructing a facility, the British player does not have to put down a under construction tab. So the British player does not have to declare where that massive explosion is going to take place at. Granted, the state of Africa, the only German held territory left is Cameroon, and Cairo, where the Ottomans are besieging it. It's fairly obvious where that mine is likely to go. It's more likely going to go in Picardia, where the majority of the Central Power forces are that are facing England. Oh, that was Cairo. That was it. The British took some forces from Oman, loaded them up in transports, landed them in Cairo, and then counterattacked the Ottomans to try to drive them out. Because with that Arab rebellion in the Hejaz that drew away Ottoman reinforcements, that gave the British a 2-to-1 numerical advantage, and so they decided to attack the Ottomans to, 1, reduce their numbers for when those reinforcements do arrive, and 2, to just try to drive them out of Cairo. And as you can see, they almost succeeded. The Ottomans were reduced down to a single infantry. And then that was it for the British. The Anzacs are gathering a fleet and an army, so they're getting ready to go somewhere. Oh, I can't believe I almost forgot about this. The biggest attack on the board that the British made. The British, with their new tanks launched and interrupter gear and poison gas and creeping barrage, they launched a pretty massive attack on the Germans in Picardia, and despite the trench with the new technologies and the tanks that cancel out hits and the dogfighting, it actually caused equal losses. The British lost 6 and the Germans lost 6. So the technologies are paying off. They can now attack trenches without suffering 4-to-1 casualties anymore. Not to say it wasn't costly for both sides. As you can see, the British reduced down to a single infantry and 2 artillery. Or there used to be a lot more infantry there. They're going to get 2 of those back. They're sitting on the hospital ship right there. The dogfight was once again inconclusive. The fighters didn't hit each other, and once the fighters they give a +1 to artillery. Now when it becomes capable for them to dogfight, then whoever has air superiority gets the +1 for the artillery. And the way that's decided is, the fighters, there's just one roll of the dice, and whoever loses the least amount gains the air superiority. So if Germany had lost 2 planes and the British had only lost 1, then the British would gain air superiority for that round, even if Germany still had planes left. If no one hit, or if it was a draw, like they each lost 1, then no one gains air superiority, so no one gets that +1 for artillery. So that's what happened with Picardia. The British fighters went up against the German fighters. No one hit anything, so no one gained air superiority, so no one got the +1 for artillery. And then England paid off the damage to the factories. Then France, same thing. They launched a big attack into Lorraine, bringing all of its new technologies to bear. And same thing with the British attack. It was absurdly costly, but the casualties were dead even. The Germans lost just as much as the French did. You can see all the wounded sitting right there. This time the dogfights actually did hit something, so got the first aerial victory, and it went to the French for the scenario. The French had 2 fighters, and then the Lafayette squadron, and went up against 2 German fighters, and the French shot down both the German fighters, and the German fighters didn't get any hits. So the French gained air superiority for the round, and that helped considerably, giving equal losses and stuff. Then, as part of the casualties, the French took one of the casualties on the Lafayette squadron, even though it's a fighter that has a +1. America joins the war next turn, so the Lafayette squadron would have been disbanded anyway. So the French would have lost that fighter regardless. So instead of losing 2 fighters, instead of losing an infantry that it had to pay for, France took the hit on the Lafayette squadron because it got it for free in the first place, and 2, they were going to lose it anyway, so might as well. Then France's other attack was, where is it? They finally attacked and took Togoland, finally. So German Cameroon is the only overseas colony Germany has left. Everything else has fallen to the Allies, or sorry, the Entente. Russia, same as always, didn't attack anything, just reinforced everywhere it could, and Russia has finally, looks like it's finally been able to establish a stable defensive line, which kind of sucks, because assuming the Central Powers can inflict 2 more casualties, next turn is the last turn Russia is going to be involved in the war. Because assuming the Central Powers get those 2 casualties, it's going to force the Bolshevik Revolution turn after next.
Hi, Dad.
The Ottomans, they did not attack anywhere this turn. Having to deal with those rebels in the Hejaz forced the Ottoman reinforcements to be out of position, so they weren't able to attack Cairo this turn. And then they moved forces up north into Bulgaria to reinforce the Balkans because next turn Greece joins, and all those forces right there become British. So the Ottomans garrisoned Bulgaria in preparation for the opening of another front next turn. And that was it for the Ottomans. Italy attacked the Austrians in northern Italy again, and that went about even, because the pretty much all the technologies have been brought online by now, so attack and defense is pretty much even in terms of odds and hit rates now, so everyone's more or less suffering equal casualties now instead of the very lopsided casualties before. Japan, it just took all of its money and leased it to all of its allies in the Entente because Japan doesn't have anything to fight anymore. It's taken all the German garrison islands and destroyed all the German cruisers, so it's really got nothing left to do. It landed and took the Palua and Panapi from Germany. Production-wise, the islands aren't worth anything. The Japanese took them, and they aren't part of Japan's victory points. Japan more or less just took them because it was something to do. America, it bought a foreign legion to lease to France to replace the one that they lost in Lorraine, and then they attacked the Mexican rebels. Once again, this would be the last turn they can do that, because the next turn America enters the war, and so those American forces have to leave Mexico. And they inflicted one casualty for one of their own. And that was it for the turn. It's a very, very costly turn for everybody. Lorraine saw probably altogether 20 some units from both sides destroyed. Picardia saw about 15 units destroyed or wounded. So immensely costly turn for everybody involved. Even though I don't have to keep track of the casualties anymore because all the technologies have reached their benchmarks, I've still been keeping a tally just out of curiosity. And that's the total. That's the number of units each nation has lost, either destroyed or wounded. So it's been costly, but then again, World War I was at the time the most costly and destructive war in human history. So of course it'd be overshadowed by World War II by a factor of 7. 6 or 7, because roughly 17 million people died in World War I compared to the well over 70 million in World War II. But that's the next scenario, so we'll worry about that when we get there. But other than that, that was the turn, and so we'll come back with the spring of 1917, and Greece and America will be joining the war. So we'll see how much the juggernaut that is America tips the balance. So we'll see you then.
Hi, Axis and Allies players, and thanks for watching The Nest. Like what we're doing, go ahead and hit a squat on that like button, share it to your favorite social media. Want to see more videos just like this? Go ahead and subscribe. We'll have more coming to you right from Original Axis and Allies from Milton Bradley, Axis and Allies in 1914 by Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, Shapeways.com, and HistoricalBoardGaming.com, where you can find all of your expansions and other pieces right there online ready for you. We'll see you next time right here, straight from the nest.